In this episode of Games and Grub, we take a look at the addictive and rage-inducing extraction shooter Escape from Tarkov.
Hello everybody and welcome to Games and Grub. We're your hosts, Jess.
Hello.
And I'm Bennett. And buckle up because it's coming at you fast. Today we're looking at Escape from Tarkov, which is one of the first extraction shooters I ever saw on the gaming market. I don't know if there were some popular ones before that, but it's kind of the first big one that
It's the first one that seems to have done it well, at the very least. Since then, a bunch of others have kind of come out that have had some success, but I feel like Tarkov is probably Escape from Tarkov is the game that probably started it off. Or, started the success of extraction shooters, I think.
Yeah. It's definitely the first game that we've talked about that is one we put a ton of time into and also really, really get frustrated with. We'll talk about that more later. It's mostly to do with the developers and the choices they make. And just this style of game kind of makes you frustrated because you can lose a lot of progress, but that's also what makes it addicting. So
it's a whole mix of things we'll get into, yeah.
First off, this game has been available for everyone to play since 2017. They might have had closed betas
they had
and
a bunch of
before
closed
that.
betas, yeah.
But anybody has been able to get in on the early access since 2017, which is a long time for this game to be in early access development. I personally think they should have just considered it released a while ago. I mean, just because you release a game doesn't mean you can't keep adding features, but
doesn't really... The thing I kind of feel about the game is that it doesn't really feel like early access. It's more so just... I feel like early access implies, there's going to be a lot wrong with this game, which that can definitely be argued, and we will get into that, but... I feel like it means the game is more unfinished, and in the state it's in right now, Tarkov is definitely... It could be a finished game, but they're still adding stuff, which I think is why they deem it they deem it to be an early access game.
Yeah. Like we said, this is an extraction shooter. It's a very tactical, realistic extraction shooter. So we will talk a little bit more about what that means too, but basically it's very hardcore and you have to manage a lot of things that you wouldn't usually need to take care of in other games like Call of Duty or some other arcade type shooters. And the other thing is this game is only available on PC, and you really need a beefy PC to play this, so it kind of makes sense that consoles wouldn't be able to probably handle it too well. But yes, it is PC only, and I think it's probably going to stay that way.
Yeah.
But yeah. Besides that, I think we can get into the gameplay a little bit. For people that haven't played this before, it's kind of different than your average shooter. Like I said, Call of Duty, Battlefield, even. It's very hardcore.
Compared to those, it is a lot more complex in just basically every system. The weapons you have, the armor you have, just everything is a lot more complex. And we'll start with the weapons because I think that is one of the shining
That's one
points
of the highlights.
Or whatever. Yeah, one of the highlights of the game. Thank you. I couldn't really think of how to say that, but it's one of the highlights of the game because in Call of Duty or whatever, you mainly just select a gun and that's the extent of it. You can put attachments on or whatever, and usually there's a pretty decent selection or whatever, but in Escape from Tarkov, it's not only are there so many different options for every different part of the gun, there's real world options. This game takes weapons from real life and attachments from real life, and you can actually customize them to a great extent. You can get down to customizing the gas block, I guess you can even put I think customization features on the actual bolt of the chamber slide. I don't know what that part of the gun is called, but there's so many different things you can customize on the weapons. it's realistic. It uses real parts, and it's just so cool. I don't know, like, what would you say about it? I don't know. There's so much to say about it. I can't think of like, I
Well,
can't
it's
put my
just so
thoughts
much
together.
deeper than any other game because the amount of attachments that you can put on and the ways that they change how the guns feel, and yeah, just the fact that they have so many real guns. So many games just make up the guns now, which I think is, I don't know if they do that to get around like the licensing or something, or if it's just
Mhm.
lazy. I don't know. I like when they're like realistic, especially in a game like this, and there are so many different guns and they're always adding new ones. Um,
It's
and it's
just
just really cool to like collect them. And I mean, I'd play this even if it was just about customizing the guns because it's just so satisfying. You can make so many different combinations with the same gun and different attachments. So you really get to make your gun exactly how you like it. The other thing is the ammo matters a lot in this game,
oh
which is
so
very
much, yeah.
different from a lot of games. And when you first start playing this, you don't know that. Like, you think, okay, I have, this Glock pistol and I need to get 9mm for it. But
Hmm.
I don't even know how many, is it like 10 different types of 9mm? 10 different
There's a
types
lot,
of
yeah.
9x19, and then there's multiple types of 9mm. So,
Yeah, there's 9x18. Like, there's so many different calibers, and for each caliber, there's so many different, like, rounds that you can use. And the cool thing about it is, I actually couldn't really speak to this, whether this is more realistic or not, but because there are different types of bullets for each, or, different types of ammo for each caliber, it feels more realistic because in Call of Duty, the attachments definitely influence how well your gun performs. Like, I don't know, you can, like, I think attach barrels or attachments that give you more, like, damage or something, and, like, just better stats in general, some of which don't make any sense for the attachment you're using. Whereas in Tarkov, the attachments definitely matter because they affect, like, the ergonomics of the gun and, like, recoil control and, like, the ability to aim, of course, because you can, like, put holographics and scopes on or whatever. But those attachments don't matter nearly as much as the ammo because if you're using a round that is horrible at penetrating armor, it's the gun's gonna be near ineffective if you're dealing with somebody who has decent armor, which is so cool because it's like I can't just slap on a barrel and my gun does amazing. Like, I get that barrel will like it. A barrel could influence the effectiveness of your gun, but it does come down to ammo, and I feel like that's more realistic because I feel like ammo types definitely change how effective a gun is in real life. It's crazy. Like, I don't know if that's realistic, but just the bullet system feels more realistic for that reason, I feel like.
yeah, and recently they've kind of done an overhaul of the armor system, which I think is actually pretty cool. But you can actually, since the beginning, actually, you've been able to, um, I don't know how to describe it, but it's like it really tracks where your shots are hitting. It's not like
Mm-hmm.
some games, it's like, okay, you either get a headshot or it hits the body and it's less damage. In this game, it's like individual parts will do different damage to the person, and whether it's got like armor covering it or not makes a big difference. So there's no leg armor in this game, for example.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you have a really bad gun, you always at least have a chance because you can go for the legs,
Yeah.
which people call leg meta, and so you can use something with like pretty bad ammo but like a high fire rate and still be able to take out the legs, and you have a chance against these really beefed up guys with better gear.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but overall, this game, that's just one element of how this game is pretty brutal, and you have to have a lot of knowledge about it to do well, which just takes some experience. But
Yeah.
another thing I really like about this game is the stash system, um, where you get to take gear between rounds. That's kind of unique to extraction shooters. And this is the first game that I played that really had that. I don't know how you feel about that system.
I mean, I did. Well, yeah, I love the stash system in Escape from Tarkov, and this probably I wouldn't say this is the best comparison, but like I'm just gonna do it just because this is I don't know, it illustrates a point. Like, I like this system just because it feels a lot more safe and rewarding than a game like Rust, and Rust is, like, I would not say in the same genre as this game, but in Rust, you loot and try to store materials or whatever and keep it safe, but the difference in Rust is that even if you get your stuff back to your, like, base that you built or whatever, it can still be raided and it can still be taken from you, which is cool. I feel like that could be a cool mechanic, but in Tarkov, because of how brutal it is, having an absolutely safe space is so rewarding and so satisfying, because once you get that gear out, it's like, man, that is mine. Nobody else can have it. I can do what I want with it, and it's just, it rewards the difficulty that is experienced in an actual game, and just, yeah, it makes everything feel safe and rewarding for getting it out of a raid, which is a game in the Tarkov. But yeah, I love the stash system. It works really well. I feel like, I think other extraction shooter games may try to do the same thing, right? Or have done the same thing.
I could think be wrong. So.
But yeah, it's a satisfying system. I think it's lovely.
Yeah, the thing is, you die a lot in this game in actual rounds when you're playing, and you will lose a lot of gear. So when you do make it out, it's very satisfying, and you want to be able to hang on to that gear. Like, you feel like you've earned it. And so if they somehow, like Rust, built in some opportunity for you to lose that gear while you're not even online, I feel like that would just ruin the game. It just wouldn't feel the same. And so I'm glad they do it the way they do. Yeah, so there's that. There's also the whole economy system. There's a flea market. You can get gear. You can find, like, the rarest loot and sell it on the flea market for mega profits, which also adds to the addictiveness of this game, because, man, I found a Bitcoin the other day, and it's interesting because Bitcoin is actually tied to the price of real Bitcoin. Like, the game value is tied to how well Bitcoin's doing in the real world, and Bitcoin's up pretty good right now, so that was close to 1 million ruble sale on the flea market, which is pretty big money. Which that's the kind of thing that keeps you coming back. And then, like, of course, there's other opportunities for people to take that stuff from you, which is where the rage part comes in. But go ahead, sorry.
If you lose stuff like that, it is brutal. That's exactly right. But it's this is just a little tidbit about the Bitcoin that I wanted to add in. But, like, I think at one point the Bitcoin got, like, so low that the developers had to adjust the, like, correlation to the actual value of Bitcoin, like, compared to the one in game, because it basically became, like, I think worth, like, 80,000 rubles or something, which still isn't bad, but, like, for Bitcoin it's not that good. So they cranked it up, and then I think, like, right after that, Bitcoin shot up, which just absolutely made it worth it, and where it is now, which I know it may be a little bit, like, maybe a bit too good, but for certain items I feel like that's fine, because there's not a lot of good items that reward you with a ton of money, I feel like. Or I might just be playing the game wrong and picking up the wrong stuff, but I feel like there's not a lot of good items worth money in the game. So I feel like it's fine having items that are worth that much. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the flea market, because I feel like that is one of the best aspects of this game, and they recently changed it this wipe. How the flea market works is usually you have to find stuff in raid and bring it out, and items that you have found in raid have the found in raid status, which means you can turn them in for tasks or put them on the flea market, which, is good, because flea market, you can make a lot more profit by selling items at your own price. But they made a change in this wipe, I think, where even if you die with stuff in your secure container, which basically guarantees items in there to be safe no matter what, if you die with those items in the pouch, if they don't have the found in raid status, you can still put them on the flea market, which is a huge change, because it means you can still make a lot of money even if you die. And they might remove this because people may not like it. It may ruin some, like, metas or something like that, but I feel like it is a change that should stay, because I'm not good at Tarkov, and I definitely am not the best at making money or whatever, so I feel like it benefits players who may not be as, like, better off, if that makes sense. But I feel like that change is awesome, and the flea market is working pretty dang well right now.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's nice to be able to sell the stuff you take in your secure container, because it was always very disappointing to have to take, such a a fraction of what you would have gotten on the flea market by
Mhm.
just selling it to the regular traders. The other thing about this game that's very rewarding is the tasks. I always like a game that has like a progression system where you're not just playing to play. I mean, obviously that's what a game is, but there's something that you're like working towards in the game. I always like that. The tasks are a really good system for that. Some of them aren't great. We'll talk about that more a little bit later, but overall, you kind of move through this whole progression of tasks for each of the traders, and you can kind of use that to gauge your progress during the wipe. And yeah, there are some tasks that are just insanely difficult, and when you finally get them done, you just feel so good, and you usually get pretty good rewards for that too, which is nice. So I like how it's not just team deathmatch or free for all like some of the other shooters out there. There's a really important objective that you're going for each round.
Yeah. The tasks I definitely, like, need in the game, because I don't know if I'd play nearly as much as everything, or if everything was just given to you, and it was just TDM, or a game like Team Deathmatch or whatever, but, like, yeah, the tasks add so much, because I'm not good at the game, and I often play with more of a rat play style, and we'll get into that later, but, like, when it comes to combat, I'm not that good, and I often try to avoid fights, and the tasks make the game feel rewarding. So if it was just Team Deathmatch, I may even... it's bold of me to say, but I may not have played this game nearly as much as I do now, just because I'm not good, and I need to work on that, because there is fun to be had with the PvP, but yeah, I'm not too good at the game, so I try to avoid fighting, and I feel like tasks still offer that satisfaction even though I'm not fighting, and without them I feel like the game wouldn't be nearly as fun, but yeah. I don't know.
I agree. And it's kind of nice too because there is PvE too.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
You can still get some of the combat feel when you're not fighting people that are, playing all day every day and just destroying you. So you don't feel like you're always getting stomped, which is good. But speaking of getting stomped, this game has a lot of hardcore elements, which I think are a lot of fun because, again, it's just a change from a lot of the more well-known games out there. For example, so many shooter games have your health just regenerate automatically, which is fine. It works sometimes. Sometimes that's what you're looking for. But in a game like this, where it's hardcore and kind of more realistic, it's really cool how, like, if you break a leg, you have to splint your leg or you're going to be walking very slowly through the rest of the game.
Yeah, like...
If you want to know how much ammo you have left, you have to pull your magazine out of the gun and look at it. There's no counter down in the corner to tell you. And yeah, go ahead.
Just to go a little bit further into, like, the healing aspect, it's not like games where, like, if you find an item that heals you, it's just health or whatever, because many games just focus on, like, a health bar and a health bar alone, and like, any healing items you find are healing items. Whereas in Tarkov, it's like, you have health, but you have, like, a health bar for each different part of your body, like your arms, your legs, your torso, your stomach, your head, or whatever. And you have to heal those individual parts, and, like, your body just doesn't have, like, one shared health pool. And on top of that, you also, like, certain medical items just don't, like, heal certain conditions. Like, there's a lot of... I don't know how to put this, my mind is, like, dying, but... what I'm trying to say is, there are items that heal health, and there are items that heal status conditions, and there are some that do both. But you can't just take one medical item and fix any problem. You have to find the right medical item to fix the problem you have. Like, there are S-marches, which are, like, tourniquets that are used to treat heavy bleeds, and you can't use those to heal at all. They just stop heavy bleeds. You can't use them to stop light bleeding. You can't use them to stop fractures. Like, there are just so many different medical supplies, and you need to find the right stuff to treat the right issues. It's just, it's a complex healing system, but it's very cool.
Yeah, and the different conditions can be pretty punishing if you don't have the right equipment to take care of it.
Yeah.
And then some of the other stuff, there's, like, your gun can actually jam, and you have to inspect it and then clear the jam to get your gun working again. Um, and point fire is a thing where in other games, if you're not aiming down the sights, your bullets just spray all over the place, which is not realistic.
It doesn't make
Your
any
bullets
sense
are gonna
whatsoever.
go. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. I the thing I don't even really like think it's an issue. Like, I understand why games do it, but that's something that makes me so frustrated in games like Call of Duty or just other shooters is like hip firing or point firing is just so inaccurate and so like comedically bad that it makes me frustrated because like it's really not that inaccurate if like in real life or whatever. And I'm not saying realism needs to be in a game like Call of Duty. Like, I understand if you added hip firing that's like extremely accurate, that would, probably not be good for a game like Call of Duty. But it's like, if I'm point firing a sniper in Call of Duty, it's like there is a very large cone where that bullet can go, and it's like that sniper is meant to be accurate for a reason, and it's not just gonna randomly go in like this cone to like the most random spot. Like, if I point fire, it's gonna be accurate. I just gotta know where I'm pointing rather than it just being left to chance. And it's like, yeah, Tarkov does this really good because it doesn't leave it to chance. It's a lot more accurate and it's even viable. But yeah, it just makes me frustrated that other games don't exactly try to adopt that practice. And
that is something I really like about this game. You can put a laser on your gun, and where your laser is pointing, that's where you're actually gonna hit. In a lot of games, it's not like that.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, that's some of the main gameplay of Tarkov. We're definitely gonna get into a little bit more about our own experience with the game and some some points about the development that are both good and a little bit frustrating. But for now, I think we need to get into today's Grub Report.
Oh, yeah.
And what we've decided to talk about today, because we just had some not too long ago, is Blue Moon ice cream. And I'm going to let you tell them about when you first discovered Blue Moon.
Well, the very first time I think we both discovered Blue Moon, and I don't know, this probably wasn't the same day, but yeah, the very first time we both kind of discovered Blue Moon was at Penguins, which was like an ice cream joint that is now shut down, unfortunately, but it was a flavor there. And, as a child, it was lovely, it tasted very good. And I kind of rediscovered it on a vacation trip more recently. I think it was like in 2019 or something, in like in a ice cream flavored called Superman, which we'll get into in a second. But yeah, I rediscovered it in 2019, and I kind of thought to myself, I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot this exists. And it's more kind of isolated to the Midwest that like we found that out. We found that out since I kind of rediscovered it. And it's kind of weird to think about and kind of sad because there's not a lot of Blue Moon available like where we are. It's just more located in the Midwest. But there still are some joints that serve Blue Moon, and so we've kind of been hunting for joints that sell it because it's such a good ice cream flavor. Like, I don't even know how to describe what it tastes like. We've kind of associated it with Fruit Loops, right? Yeah,
Fruit Loops. It definitely tastes like Fruit Loops, which I think is accurate. There are some people who claim that it tastes like marshmallow, which I don't think it's even close to. That's kind of the weird thing about this flavor is there's so many different variations and reactions to it.
Mm-hmm.
Even more with Superman, but yeah, I would definitely say Fruit Loops. If you've had Fruit Loops before, don't give up on this flavor yet because that sounds weird, but it does taste very much like Fruit Loops. The best kinds of Blue Moon, I think, are the more subtle ones.
Mm-hmm.
There are some where the flavor is just right in your face, and that can get a little bit old when you have like a big bowl. It's like overpowering. I don't know do you like yours stronger or more of a subtle Fruit Loop flavor?
I don't even know if it's like I don't know if it's calling it more subtle or more like strong or whatever, but I almost feel like, yeah, okay, I guess maybe a little bit more subtle, but I think what's more important is it can't be strong in like that fruitiness flavor or whatever. I feel like this flavor is kind of like a Fruit Loops flavor, which you would think is like fruity or whatever. It needs to feel more like a sweets flavor, if that makes sense. Like, kind of like it almost has like a vanilla type taste to it on top of the Fruit Loops, and it makes it like taste more creamy. And I'm referring to like a good Blue Moon here. There are different variations on it, but like a good Blue Moon, in my opinion, has like a kind of vanilla background to make it like taste and, give a creamy sensation. But it also has that Fruit Loops flavor up front to like give it that signature Blue Moon flavor. So I feel like, yeah, I guess more subtle on the like fruit flavor, but it needs to have creaminess to give it that Blue Moon taste. Because we got this store bought stuff from like I think Walmart or something like that, right? Yeah, it was Walmart.
Yep.
We got it from Walmart, and it tasted like Blue Moon, but it was very strong, and I just don't think it like was true Blue Moon, because like when we had it, that was the brand where I was like, I can't eat a lot of this. Like I can do it every once in a while, but this is just way too strong.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because it was actually originally made with some kind of, it's called castorium, which comes from beavers. This was I don't know, let's see, when was it first introduced? It's not even a date on here. I'm checking out the Wikipedia page on Blue Moon. Originally they made it with some kind of like extract from beavers, which sounds kind of disgusting, but it works. Apparently that has kind of like a berry vanilla flavor, which really sounds disgusting now that I'm talking about it, but they don't use that anymore as far as I know. But yeah, it's from the Midwest, and thankfully it has moved a little bit further than that now. We finally found a place where you can get it like 20 minutes away, and just this tiny little ice cream store, and they make it themselves, and it's really good.
Like
theirs is closer to the original one that we found at Penguins, like I don't even know, 15 years ago or something.
It was a long time ago, sadly. And like I really wish I could compare it to the Penguins one, because the place we got it at here, it was pretty dang close. I feel like I'd have to, if I could, I would have to taste the Penguins one to compare. But as far as I can remember, they did a really good job at getting the original flavor. And it's like, I mean, I don't recommend store-bought. I've only had that one brand, but I feel like you kind of have to go to an ice cream parlor, because it's like, it seems like they do it better. Like, the store-bought stuff we did not enjoy. It was not really that good of a Blue Moon experience. At least in my opinion. I might be speaking for you.
But it wasn't the best.
It wasn't the best. In my opinion, I probably wouldn't choose it again just because it's too strong for Blue Moon, but ice cream parlors, the ones we've been to, have got it like spot on, and so I recommend going to, like, if you can find one, try it at like a nearby ice cream parlor that has that flavor. Try it, and then hopefully that's the right Blue Moon experience that we're talking about, and if it is, that is like a really good ice cream flavor to enjoy.
Yeah, I also have to mention that apparently Germany has its own similar version, and they call it Schlumpf, which translates to Smurf, I guess, which it is Smurf Blue. So, Schlumpf is a very good flavor. We also mentioned that it is one of the components of a different flavor of ice cream called Superman.
Oh yeah.
Superman is even less consistent. There are so many different varieties of Superman ice cream.
Mm-hmm.
If you go on their Wikipedia page, or that flavor's Wikipedia page, you can find a bunch of different brands and what makes it up. The only true Blue Moon flavor, or excuse me, Superman flavor combination is, it has to have Blue Moon as the blue color.
Mm-hmm.
It has to have cherry as the red flavor, and it has to have vanilla as the yellow flavor.
Well, and here's the thing. When it comes to like the flavor mixtures, those are like the three. That's like our ideal mixture. I will say though, I don't know if you agree with this, and I'd be curious to hear this, but I honestly feel like the red flavor ingredient is honestly the least important and could honestly be substituted for a different fruit. I'm not saying it can be anything. I'm just saying the fruit that is in that spot could honestly be a lot of different things. But what do you think about that? Would you agree, or would you say?
But it can't be overpowering, because there is
a
kind that uses fruit punch, which would just completely ruin the Blue Moon. It would overpower it.
Mm-hmm.
Although I'm looking at it, and Hy-Vee Scooper powers is what they call theirs. It's literally just fruit punch for every flavor. That's not Superman. That's just fruit punch ice cream with a different name. That doesn't count as Superman.
And then there's Wells Blue Bunny, which has Scooper Hero, and it's just vanilla is the blue, vanilla is the red, and vanilla is the yellow. You can't do that. That's not the Superman ice cream at all, because it's just, when you think of a Superman scoop or whatever you want to call it, it's 3 different flavors. You got the red, the blue, and the yellow flavor, all of which are different. It's really sad that these companies, if they actually do that, like the 3 flavors filling in every color, it's like...
it's just a cash grab.
It's just a cash grab. It's like...
about this flavor.
Those are not true, like, if you want a true Superman cone, I can tell you right now, those 2 companies do not have it down. At least in our opinion, like you said, the true mixture is Blue Moon, black cherry, or cherry, whatever you want to call it, and then vanilla. And I will say... in my experience, I feel like the Superman ice cream cone typically has a pretty strong Blue Moon presence in it, but it's still enjoyable. Like, I feel like it does lean a little bit into the Blue Moon flavor, but it's still a delicious mixture to get. Yeah.
And the other thing is, yellow is important.
Yellow is very important.
Wouldn't work. Lemon is too tart. It wouldn't go well with the Blue Moon. I personally think banana could be okay, but I know you might not be as big on the banana.
No, the one you're looking at, the Hershey Creamery Company on the wiki, I feel like that could be another good one to try, because Blue Moon with strawberry banana. I'd be curious. I don't know where you get that, but I want to try it, because that's like the actual one labeled as Superman, and I'd be curious to try that, because I don't think we've had one similar to that, and I feel like strawberry and banana with Blue Moon could actually be a different mixture that would work well.
Yes.
Because the issue with lemon is it's like, I feel like it just kind of punches you with the flavor. It's like, hey, I'm a lemon or whatever. Whereas, like, with a banana, I can definitely see it, because it's like, I don't feel like a banana is ever like...
it's another subtle flavor.
Yeah. It's subtle. I feel like...
complements the moon.
Exactly.
Doesn't overpower the moon.
Exactly, yeah. I feel like banana could work really well for that reason.
Yeah, me too. For everybody that might want to try this... Kroger does have a brand or a flavor called Tie-Dye Burst, which is Blue Moon, cherry, and vanilla. So if you can find that, I would give it a try. We have also tried the Hudsonville Super Scoop, which is black cherry as the red one, and I thought that one was pretty good. It didn't have the best Blue Moon, but it had all the pieces that it needs. So
is this the one that we got from the from Walmart, or is this a different one?
Yeah.
I got you, yeah.
But only in Minnesota. Our Walmarts here in Colorado don't have it, so. So yeah. Anyway, I personally think Blue Moon is a little bit better by itself than in the Superman, but it's good both ways. I don't know what you think about that.
Oh, I think it's good both ways. I feel like, honestly, if you're looking for a Blue Moon experience and can't find it, but you can find Superman, I'd just deem Superman like a less reliable version of Blue Moon, if that makes sense. Because like we said,
make sure your Superman has Blue Moon in it.
Yeah, because I mean it's gonna be a bit of a gamble on whether it's actually good or not. Because like we said, there's a bunch of different flavor combinations for it. But yeah, I mean you could just call it I feel like it could be safe to call it a less reliable Blue Moon if you don't have one available to you. So they're both good flavors. I feel like giving both of them a try is like absolutely worth it. But yeah.
Yeah. So I say we give our grub rating on these delicious flavors. I almost wish we had gone with a 0 to 10 grub rating, because for some reason when I give things in the 3 range it feels bad, but it's not. I mean, I'm gonna probably give Blue Moon a 3.5 out of 5.
I mean, that's basically a 7, so
it's a 7. I mean, I think it's really good. It's not my favorite dessert ever. There's some other stuff I'd probably rank higher, but I think it's a very solid flavor. So, yeah, 3.5. And Superman, I'm just going to give 3.4. It's just ever so slightly less than just plain Blue Moon.
This doesn't happen very often, but I'm going to have to be honest. I could probably agree with your points, like with your rating, like down to the number.
That doesn't happen on food ever.
Just because I would put it at 4, but like Blue Moon, I feel like... Yeah, I agree with what you said. I agree exactly with what you said, and I agree with 3.5 for Blue Moon and 3.4 for Superman, so we are in complete agreement, and I'm kind of shocked about that.
Yeah, me too. I feel like any ranking above a 3 is pretty good, you know.
It's pretty dang good, yeah.
And we haven't ranked anything in the 2s yet. We're gonna have to do a foods we hate thing sometime.
We're gonna have to
Although
try
we might not
sushi, man.
agree
No, I'm
on
joking.
that. I'm sure we can find something.
Like what? Oh, we'll have to come up with something. If you guys have any recommendations for like, not necessarily like, there's obviously foods that are wacky and may not taste that good, but like, if there's something you can find that's like considered a normal snack food or just a food in general that we may dislike, please send us a recommendation because like,
just throw us out any food.
Yeah,
we'll discuss it. Doesn't matter if it's good or bad. We'll talk about it. So yeah, there you go. There's your Grub Report for today's episode. And now we are going to jump back into Tarkov. Why don't you fill us in on your experience through the years on this game?
Okay, well, we think we've had like, what would we say? We have like 5-ish wipes under our belt, right?
Right. We should probably explain what a wipe is,
a
too.
wipe.
That sounds weird.
So, it sounds like a weird term. We're not talking about something weird here. A wipe refers to a period of time that, like, I don't even know how to say it. Basically, after a certain period of time, everybody's progression in the PvP mode of this game. There's a PvE mode where you can just choose to wipe whenever you want to. But in the PvP mode of this game, there are wipes, and when a wipe occurs, that means everybody's progression is reset down to an equal level and basically like
zero.
Zero. Basically, just everybody's at a starting point, and you progress up from there, and then it wipes again after like 6 months is usually when it does in this game, and it keeps the gameplay kind of fresh, so that way like you're not just constantly playing the game at like a later point when everybody has good stuff. Like, when it wipes is typically when the game is the most fun, in my opinion, because everybody has newer gear, everybody's going for tasks, and there's not just, like, really good ammo that instantly, like, that kills you really quick or whatever. That's just kind of what a wipe is. It's a reset of progression for everybody, and it happens, like, around 6 months usually. This wipe, or the last wipe prior to this one, was, like, I think 7 months? 7.5 or something like that. One. It was perhaps, like, one of the longest ones there's been. But it's usually around 6 months. So that's what a wipe is. But I would say I love this game, and all of my wipes have been pretty good. I've been saying throughout this podcast, I really am not good at PvP in this game, and I don't know how you improve. But this is a game that scares me more than horror games, and it's not because of gear fear. Sure, I mean, I probably have gear fear, which I don't know if people are familiar with that term, but that just means like you're afraid to lose your gear that you bring in. But it may be gear fear, but this game horrifies me because when I play it solo, and even with you, I still feel this a little bit, just not to as great of an extent. But like, I really find it hard to like try and get stuff done until like later in the raid, just because I have a fear of running into people in this game. Because I feel like it almost, like, when I get shot, it kind of jump scares me, and it's not even that bad, but it's like the anticipation. It's like, I don't see anybody, and typically, when I don't see anybody, that's when I get, like, blasted out of nowhere right next to me, and it's just, this game scares me more than horror games, and I don't know how to get over that, man. It's spooky.
Yeah, I mean, some of the scariest times are when it's just dead silent, and you're just going about your business, and you just drop dead suddenly, like, you, out of nowhere.
That's my greatest fear in this game, like, I hate when somebody headshots you out of nowhere. It's like, okay. I mean, it sucks afterwards because it's like, I just got shot in the head once and now I got to restart or whatever. But in the moment, it's like,
shock of it that's even worse. It's like, oh my goodness, you just weren't expecting that, and it gets you.
There's also, I don't know if this actually still happens, but I'm pretty sure, I swear, when you get hit in the helmet or whatever, like when somebody's like full autoing into your helmet or whatever, right? I swear, if your helmet ricochets, it plays like a really loud and like just a really loud like reflection sound or something when it does that. I think to let you know, like, hey, you just
mean like the ears ringing? I think is what it's supposed to be.
Well, no, not the ears ringing. I feel like when the bullet hits your helmet and reflects, it's a lot louder than a typical hit to you, and that's the part I hate. Is like, I think, like, when you get hit in the helmet, it just makes a really loud noise when you reflect one bullet, and that's the part I hate, because that bullet scares the crap out of me, but then the rest are fine or whatever. I
Yeah.
could be just talking about something that doesn't even exist in the game, but I swear there's like one bullet that sounds extremely loud when it hits you, and then the rest are fine. But yeah, getting
Oh
shot.
yeah, even if you're not getting shot at is scary. Like you hear the crack of bullets like breaking the sound barrier or whatever, whizzing past your head more than in any other game. Like it really makes you feel like you're in danger, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
It has a good feel to it, but it's so scary, especially when you have a backpack full of, high profit loot and you're just trying to get out. It's terrifying.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
I'd say for me, yeah, we've probably played. I think this is the 5th wipe, probably. For me, the first wipe was just learning the game. Like I got nothing done that time. The progression was so slow, and that's fine because it's nice once you learn all that stuff to come back and just breeze through like the starting stuff so much easier and just know like what you should be bringing in, what you should be saving. So you definitely get better knowledge wise as you keep playing. I'm no better at PvP than when
Same here, man. Same here.
Yeah, I can't aim. I don't know positioning. I still don't know the map flow that well. I mean, maybe a little bit, but
yeah.
I'm not competitive when it comes to fighting in this game. But
I just want to say really quick though, if any of you listening are new to this game and like want to try it out, I would learn it, and then once you have experience, if you really want to do well in a wipe, you need to start at the beginning of the wipe, or otherwise all I have to say to you is good luck, because within like a couple of days, that can mean the difference between having crap ammo and having like good ammo that traders can give you. Because I'm gonna say the ammo situation, you can loot ammo, I understand that, but like from traders, the ammo situation is horrible. Especially in like the most recent wipes, because the developers have kind of taken away good ammos early in the wipe, and I know that like prolongs the early wipe experience, but it's like I feel like I'm always going against people who have better ammo than me, and I'm stuck with the stuff that like barely even scratches the armor. And yeah, all I have to say to you is if you're starting out this game and are doing like your first actual try at a wipe, you want to pick up ammo in raids, and if you don't, good luck fighting other people. You either gotta aim for their head or aim for their legs, and I can't seem to do head aiming, so I don't know. My aim sucks, and that's kind of why I try to avoid combat a lot of the time.
Yes, I agree with that. Except, you can always do well in this game. I mean, depending on how you play, you can have the most geared up guy, and if your aim is good, you can take him down with 1 or 2 shots from a pistol. It's hard, and you're probably not going to survive very often, but you can, and suddenly you can go from no gear to a very nice setup because you just took it off some guy that's 30 levels higher than you or whatever.
Yeah.
Which is that's like what makes this game feel good, because you're like, I did that and I got rewarded for it too. But yeah, this game is hard. It's very, very hard. You're going to die constantly, and you just have to get used to that. At first, you feel like, I suck. I'm just not good at this game. Which might be true. It is for me, but you also have to realize that just everybody dies a lot in this game, and you just got to get back in and try again. And that's also what makes it very addicting, because you can just get back in and immediately like recover your gear if you're lucky, or if you just happen to come across the right loot or the right situation. So
yeah,
that makes it a lot of fun.
I will also, since we're kind of talking about our experience here, I'm just gonna say to people listening, I am unconventional in how I play, just because, well, actually this may not be that unconventional, but I feel like this is kind of a bit weird on how I play. But I prioritize getting my money only in scav runs, and prioritize tasking in PMC runs. And I know you can very well get money in PMC runs, but I almost don't want to risk it in PMC runs if I'm trying to task, because I feel like I'm almost risking too much if I'm looting and doing tasks as a PMC. So I literally only try to get money during a scav run, and I have a route that I don't want to disclose because if people happen to use this, I don't. It's like my fishing spot. I don't want to give away my fishing spot or whatever. You know, it's like it's my route or whatever. And I think you use it too, but I don't want to give away our secrets. But I mean, yeah, I get my money through scavving and then just worry about tasking through playing PMC runs, because it's like it feels too risky, like looting during a PMC run, which is probably dumb on my part, but
I will loot during PMC runs. I'll do specific PMC runs just for loot, and I'll do the same route that I do as a scav, but there's more of a chance to find loot because it hasn't been checked already. It is higher risk though, so just depends on if you feel like going for it or not.
Yeah.
One thing that we've always wanted to get done is get Kappa, which is there's different levels of secure container that can hold more loot. And like we said, your secure container, you can put things in it during your raid, and if you die, you still get to take that out. So you put your very best stuff in there. Kappa is the biggest one you can get. Actually, is that true? Or is there now one you can buy? That's bigger.
I'm pretty sure Kappa is still the biggest one. We'll get into the whole
pay to win.
Yeah, the whole unheard thing. We'll get to that in a little bit, but I believe Kappa is still the biggest one. They added Secure Container Theta, which you can get from the new Trader Ref now, which it's a 2x5 that is also like broken up into sections. I don't know like what it actually is, but it's 2x5 and then it has like different sections in it. Yeah. If that makes sense, but yeah.
But Kappa is one that you get for doing all of the tasks. There's some that don't apply to it, but if you complete all the Kappa tasks, you get Kappa, and you get to have it for the rest of the wipe. I wish you got to keep it for, between wipes, but you have to reacquire it each time the game wipes. We've never gotten it. We always set out on a quest to get Kappa, and we never come close, but maybe someday. You gotta play this game like it's your full-time job if you want to get Kappa, though.
That's the only thing I don't like, is I feel like there are a lot of players. I'm not saying, like, I'm not trying to rip on them, but it's like, the hard thing about this game is there are some people who just grind this game out, and who have thousands of hours under their belt, and it's like, you get absolutely wrecked by these guys, and it's like, holy crap, I can't do much about this, and it's, I don't know. I don't blame them, like, they're just good at the game. There's nothing much else I can say about it, they're just good at the game and good at PvP, and I've played a lot, but, like, it's just sometimes it's rough and you get wrecked by a ton of those guys, and it's like, dang. I'm outclassed by this guy.
Yeah, and that's why certain play styles are sometimes preferable. But again, we'll talk about that in a little bit. But the last thing we want to talk about is just our opinions on the maps. Some of them are great, and some of them are an absolute pain. And personally, I've always liked woods because it feels safe. There's so much cover, so many trees. I know where I can go that it's unlikely to be in combat, and I can just loot safely. So I'd say Woods has always been one of my favorite maps. And I'm going to say Streets is my least favorite map. The concept is cool. It's a big metropolis. There are just buildings everywhere, and you can go in a ton of these buildings. And yeah, it's this huge city with all these different shops and stuff, and there's tons of stuff to loot, but it's so dangerous. There are windows everywhere that you can get shot from, like there's mines in stupid places. There's just corridors where you can't, there's like one way in and out, you can't get out. And the last thing I want to say is this map runs like complete garbage. There's a setting in the graphics settings to specifically turn down your graphics just to run this map because it's so poorly optimized.
I forgot that setting exists.
that's just disgusting. Fix the map. Like, don't keep adding features until you fixed what's already in the game that's not working.
We'll get into that. There's a lot to be said in that region, but I agree. Woods is a really good map. I also want to say I agree with the Streets take, and I also feel like that extends to Interchange on a lesser extent. They are both conceptually like awesome maps, like thematically for the game, because it's like, if you're in like a survival situation where you need to loot and get supplies or whatever, I feel like a city with a ton of stores or whatever, or a shopping mall with like a variety of different supplies makes sense, because it's got like a ton of different things to offer, and a ton of different people would be fighting for that. However, the spots you can be shot from on either map, like there's so many places to die from on either map, and it's just not a fun experience, that it's like, these maps are just not good, and like, in my opinion, they're both so bad, and there are probably going to be many people who are like, you're just not good at the game or whatever, and I agree with you, I'm not good at the game.
You're right.
Yeah, you're right, we're not good at the game, but still, this map is absolute garbage. Both maps are, Interchange is better, but still not that good. I will say, Customs is a fantastic map as well. I know that was a bit of a swap, but I wanted to say really quick, Customs is a wonderful map. Like, Woods and Customs, I feel like, are the pinnacle of Tarkov. Woods is a peaceful experience if you need that. Like, it's a safe place to make money, it's pretty easy to learn, and it's just kind of safe overall. Customs, however, I feel like is the best Tarkov experience to have, because PvP is, I think, almost always enjoyable, and there's not a lot of, like, completely garbage spots that you can be shot from. Like, yeah. It's a, like, one of the best laid out maps ever. And, oof, yeah, it's so good. I will say, like, I'm not a fan of Reserve. I'm just going to quickly say these because I don't want to spend too much time on, like, taking up time with maps or whatever. But, like, Reserve is also a map I'm not a fan of. The, like, above ground section, it kind of follows the same stuff as Interchange and Streets. You can get shot from so many places above ground. The bunker PvP can be fun. Emphasis on can. It can also be very bad. But... yeah. I used to hate Shoreline. That's a lovely map, Shoreline, or not a lovely map, but
grown on me a lot actually.
I used to think it was one of the worst maps, but now comparing it to other maps, it's like I will gladly take Shoreline over a lot of different maps at this point. Lighthouse, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of hate tasking on Lighthouse, especially when
I like the look of Lighthouse. It's a cool, like the mountains and the like cabins and stuff. Oh, plus there's the big, what is that, water treatment?
Yeah, water treatment is a huge area.
Like, I don't know, the whole idea of it is cool, but again, it's so easy to die on that map.
It is incredibly easy to die. The tasks are so frustrating, especially when 90% of them are in the hardest section of the map. I will say right now, I understand that they make rogues hard to kill just for the sake of not making them farmable, but really good players can still do that, and when you can get shot, like...
it's unrealistic, too.
It's unrealistic,
they just snap to you. They know where you are, and they just laser beam you, like, immediately.
For context, the rogues are basically... there are different AIs in this game, like we talked about. There's, like, PvE, like, things you can fight, and scavs are, like, the baseline one. They're pretty dang easy to fight, but they still offer, you know, combat or whatever. Rogues are a very large step up from that, and they exist on Lighthouse, basically on the main grabbing point, like, area of the map or whatever. And there's a spot, there's like a mountain you can snipe them from, but because the developers don't want this area to be farmable and, like, have the AI be killed easily, they have made them extremely, like, accurate and deadly. And so when you, like, peek your head for a second and for the first time to go and kill a rogue, they are sitting on a mounted LMG with no sights and, like, no... like, pre-gained knowledge on where you are, and they will snap to your exact position and just gun you down. And it's like, this doesn't make any sense. I need to get tasks done, and I have to snipe and peek, like, angles that will just get me killed, and it's like, how? How am I supposed to do this? Like,
it feels very unfair.
Yeah, Lighthouse, I just hate it for that reason, and it's so vertical. The map is so thin, but so long, so that way, like, you run into so many players, and it's such a large map that you can get sniped on and just get sandwiched on. Its layout is poor. I wouldn't say it's the worst map, but I really don't like Lighthouse is not a map I play to have fun.
Yeah, I agree with that. And there's a couple more maps, but I think we need to get into the development stuff
Yeah.
because there's a good amount to talk about here.
Oh boy.
And what you just mentioned is a good example of it. There was a nice area to take those guys on in Lighthouse, and every time the players find something like that, the developers get rid of it. And it doesn't make any sense because it's like they are against their players. And the reason we think that is happening is because this game is very very popular with certain streamers on Twitch and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And the developers really only listen to those people or the very competitive players.
Yeah.
And the streamers complain about stuff like that because they they get killed from places like that, or they consider it like, I don't know, scummy play style, which I think is ridiculous because it's using the game mechanics as they're intended. If you're cheating, that's one thing.
Yeah.
If you're playing the game as the game lets you play it, there's nothing wrong with that, and you need to get better and check places more thoroughly and stuff. But
yeah, I will say, like, this, cheater, or no, sorry, no, not cheaters. Cheaters definitely don't have an opinion that's valid, but streamers and really competitive players absolutely have valid opinions. I'm not saying their opinions are invalid. I just hate when it feels like the developers listen to 90% of what they have to say and, like, not at all what, like, regular players have to say. Because going back to the Lighthouse thing,
90% streamers and 10% just whatever the developers feel like.
Yeah.
Everybody else just has to deal with it.
Because going back to the Lighthouse example, I'm pretty sure they made it so that way the AI is completely, like, unrealistically hard on that map, just so that way streamers and really competitive players can't farm that stuff. And I'm just gonna say it right now, if you have a really good player or a streamer playing the game, they're gonna be well off no matter what. Like, they have skill for a reason, and even if you nerf that one thing, they're gonna progress just fine. Like, they're pretty well off. And I'm not saying, like, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with them being really good. Like, they got that skill. It's insane how they have that skill. Like, they deserve to be that skilled. But it's like, please do not make the game impossibly hard on certain aspects for me, just because you want to make it still challenging for them. Because it's like, I can't even really play Lighthouse and clear water treatment. I kind of have to wait. Because
you just wait till someone else does it, and then you get the scraps, which is too bad. But the thing is, it's just like what I said earlier. You have to play this like it's your full-time job. Well, streamers, this is their full-time job, and they do get to play it that way. And everybody else is, like, at such a disadvantage because this game rewards just a lot of playtime, and not everybody can do that. Not everybody even wants to do that. And so you feel very behind when you get on for a couple hours every day, or even every couple days when these guys are cranking out like 8 hours a day or whatever. And it just feels a little unfair to, like, tailor the entire game to people like that, because there aren't that many of them compared to everyone else. But that's where we kind of talk about the Rats versus Chad play styles. A rat is someone who is kind of, I don't know, how would you explain it? Because I guess our definitions are a little bit different.
You know what?
I think a rat is anybody that's kind of, like, playing carefully and maybe sometimes uses strategies that would annoy other players, but it gets the job done.
Yeah.
Chads are, like, the fully geared, like, I don't know, super tactical, like, well geared, try hard players. Mm-hmm. And then the rats are the exact opposite of that.
And here, let me give my definitions here.
Okay.
I will. There's nothing wrong with your definitions, but I just want to emphasize what I like. My definitions are going to heavily emphasize what I feel about each of these player stereotypes or whatever. Rats are players who intelligently use game mechanics to play carefully and benefit them, like, pretty dang, like, frequently, And even if that strategy may not be considered the most, like, I guess the way to put it is, like, ethical when it comes to shooters.
Yeah.
Whereas Chads are the Call of Duty players who run around the map and have decent skill and play a lot more quickly paced. And, you know, basically are very bold and can hold their ground or whatever. And I'm gonna tell all the listeners right now, Chads hate rats specifically because of extract camping. And I understand, like, oh, there's so much to get into here. I understand that getting extract camped is, a lot of people think that is, like, absolutely should not be in the game and is, like, horrible. And I will level with you. I think it's unfair when extract camping happens when a person is sitting inside of a tree stump or, like, sitting inside of a tree and cannot be viewed. Like, there are spots you can, like, rat in that are completely unfair. And I understand, those should be removed from the game. But when you're able to lay in a spot that is realistic and not game-breaking and, like, unrealistic and, like, remain hidden and basically, you know, be able to take out players that way, Chad should not be getting pissed about that. They should be checking areas that are smart, like, that are smart to hide in or whatever, because that's where I'm saying rats are more intelligent, like, players, because they use their environment to the fullest to benefit them. Whereas Chads rely mainly on their skill or whatever, which is not bad. I'm not saying the game needs to play, like, you need to play the game like a rat or like a Chad. I feel like both roles need to exist. But I don't like it when Chads criticize rats for using legitimate spots and playing carefully and maybe sitting in the same spot, because sure, it's a slower, like, play style, and sure, you may have just lost all your stuff, but that guy was intelligent enough to sit in a spot that you didn't think to check and was hidden and took your stuff, so I don't think he's at all at fault. Ratting is a playstyle, and Chads need to shut up when they're in a legitimate spot. I will cede. If they're sitting in a tree and kill you, it's just dumb. I hate when Chads criticize people for using, like, legitimate spots that are fine. I will cede to them, like, if it's an illegitimate spot, I understand. That's dumb to be killed by. Like, you can't see somebody sitting in a tree. I understand why you're pissed that you got killed or whatever.
Yeah, but then the developers need to take it out of the game.
That's what I'm saying. They need to remove the bad spots, and then otherwise, the good spots remain. Like, the legitimate spots remain, and it's up to you to check those spots. And I get that just because it's an extract does not mean you're out of the game. It's literally right there, and you need to get out. So clear your extract and get out. It's just like, I get that I'm very passionate about this, but that's where, like, the whole streamers and really competitive players come in. None of those people are really rats. 90% of them are Chads, and when they get killed by an extract camper or get shot by one, they complain, and because developers listen to them, the rat playstyle dies, and when it's legitimate ratting that is not, like, abusing a game spot or mechanic, I hate it, because it's just removing a playstyle that is completely viable just because people can't handle being killed by those players.
Yeah, and in the newest wipe, they've introduced this whole karma system where you get punished for playing as a rat. And sometimes you get punished for not even playing as a rat, because it's so, like, broad that just sitting in a bush for any amount of time marks you as, like, playing... what do they call it? I don't know. It's like what Jess said. It's like they consider it unethical or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like poor sportsmanship or something. It's like you're in a bush. It's a strategy. Like that's something you might do in real life if you're in this situation.
Well, okay.
I just think it's crazy that you get punished, especially when you have no gear at all and you're just trying to make your way in this world of Chads. And they decide to punish you for that. I don't get that.
I know. Sorry, I have to jump in one more time. That is another thing that, like, I also want to argue for rats. In a real life scenario, I feel like sitting in a spot and waiting and being patient is definitely something somebody would do. And I know this game is not real life, but that, I feel like, is a legitimate strategy in a real combat scenario. And if you can't handle that, dude... It's a legitimate strategy. This is combat. Yeah. If it's not game breaking or unrealistic and somebody kills you with it, you're just complaining because you died to somebody doing something smart and being sneaky. It's like, stop complaining about rats that are being completely smart about how they play. Oh, it just... I wouldn't be so passionate about this if it didn't, like, get attacked so much by people who actually get listened to. And I'm not blaming the people that get listened to. They're not the ones that get chosen or whatever. They're not the ones that choose who gets listened to. It's the developers. But when you're the ones that are being listened to, it's like you're removing a playstyle that it can actually do well with. I can't be a Chad because I don't have the skills, I'll admit it. I am more of a rat because I don't have skills. But if you remove that playstyle, it's like I can't even really do much in the game then. Like, if I can't play sneakily or try to avoid combat, there's not much I can do.
Yeah, you just can't even play the game.
I can't even play the game.
This is why I appreciate Stank Rat so much, who is one of the few, at least, streamers that plays as a rat, and it's also very funny to watch. But there's probably some other stuff we gotta move on to as well. Cheaters, for one thing. I can't believe how bad they handle the cheater situation. I think at this point we pretty much know that BSG, Battlestate Games, who developed this game, they don't care to ban cheaters. Or actually, they don't care to prevent cheaters. They will ban cheaters so that cheaters will go out and buy another account and they make more money. And that's just toxic, and it's greedy, and it doesn't show any care for the people that actually want to play the game legitimately. They pretend that they're handling it and nothing changes, which is just disgusting, but unfortunately that's probably not going to change anytime soon. The other thing is just the development kind of perspective. Like, they're so focused on just jamming features into this game, which you would think is a good thing, but it's like, I can't even say they take 2 steps forward and 1 step back. They take 1 step forward and 1 step back, or even worse at times, because they add
1 step forward and then a marathon backward.
Yeah, they add new things, and then they break like a million other things in the process, or they just overload the game and it can't run well anymore because they're adding new maps that aren't optimized, like Streets, like I said. Go ahead. No, you go ahead. Sorry, I've probably been interrupting a lot. I want you to speak, because I'll go on a rant again. You want me to? It's just, I don't know. It's like I think they do this because as long as they're adding features, they generate more interest by doing that. Yeah. The only people that are going to be happy with the optimization changes are people that already play the game. They've already purchased it. So I personally think it's a little bit more of the greed thing, where they can announce like a new wipe with new features and that gets people to buy accounts. But when you fix problems, that's not as interesting to people. So I think it's a lot of greediness. I think there are developers on this game that really care and have done a really good job in making a very complicated game, but overall there's a lot of problems with how they approach it.
I'm gonna be honest, this is one game where I feel like they need to stop adding new content, and it goes back to the whole, like, competitive and, like, streamers or whatever. They have so much time, like, they actually play a lot, right? Which, there's nothing wrong with that. I really want to preface this by saying, like, I'm not criticizing how they play the game. Like, they're entitled to do whatever they want, that's fine. But because they have so much time, and because I feel like the developers are listening to them more, the game has so many quests added to it, and like you said, so many features, that it's like, I get that Kappa is supposed to be a hard accomplishment to get to, but BSG is so invested in keeping those players at the top entertained, whereas I'm thinking, like, there's already a plethora of features in this game that I love, and, like, this game is fun to play. I want to get to Kappa, but I can't, because it's becoming a harder and harder process with each subsequent wipe, because there's more and more tasks, and on top of that, they make, like, convenient stuff less available, and it's like, I don't know. I feel like a lot of the time, casual play, not necessarily casual, but, like, I guess, like, middle-of-the-road players, if that makes sense, are, like, left in the dust, whereas, like, competitive players and streamers are just, like, prioritized.
And then they complain that there's not enough content.
It's like, we already have so many maps, and I probably only want to play, like, on 2 of them. It's like, I don't know. There's plenty of maps, there's plenty of quests, and I get that a lot of people that are really good at the game could, like, wear out the content quick, but it's like there's so many players who want to like be able to get to that like a good point or whatever. And it would also be nice if the game worked properly, like you were saying. Like, please just take like a wipe to fix a lot of the performance issues and just errors that occur randomly.
Oh
And
yeah,
then
that would do
you
so
have,
much good for this game.
I know. Like, if you could just start a wipe like that, like, you can, after a wipe of, like, fixing stuff, and then start a wipe where everything is fixed, I guess you could start adding in more stuff, but more likely than not,
Just
it's
fix
gonna
what's
break.
there first, and then you can add more. That's fine. We probably need to get wrapped up here because we've gone pretty long. There's some bonus content for you, folks. The last thing though that we do want to say is this game is awesome, and the developers have done a very good job on a lot of stuff. I mean, the amount of items in this game that have to be like programmed and definitely animated. There's so much animation in this game for all the different guns, all the different attachments. Different attachments are going to behave a little bit differently on different guns. You can place attachments all over these guns because you can put them on any rail, unlike other games. So there's just like so much that they have to go through to actually make this work, and it's pretty shocking that it actually even runs as well as it does. Not saying it runs well, but it does run.
Well, the way I sum up this game, and I think we both can sum up this game, is the statement, it's surprising the game works, both in a really good way and a really bad way.
Yeah.
It's like, you take the example, like, when you look at the armor system is really complex, like we said. You can, like, each time you get shot in body armor, like we said, there are different bullets that have different penetration values, and so for each bullet that you're shooting at somebody, which is often, like, full auto, the game has to check, okay, can this bullet penetrate this piece of armor? And then if it does, there's usually, like, 2 layers of armor for a lot of armors, so it has to check the first plate, and then if it penetrates that one, it penetrates the next, and then it has to do a check there, and it's like, there are probably a ton of calculations being done for that, and like for the weapon systems, that it's like, wow, this game truly runs amazingly for how complex it is. But then you go back to like the errors and the optimization issues for the maps, and it's like, wow, it is amazing how well this game runs for
and I think a lot of it has to do with running on Unity, which is really not heavy duty enough for a game like this. I've heard that it's pretty heavily modified. But I just don't think Unity was ever meant to be used with a game that needs this much power. Probably Unreal would have been better, but at this point it's pretty hard. You can't just switch engines like that. So
yeah,
they're doing a good job with what they have. So yeah, that is Escape from Tarkov. We're still playing it right now. It's one of our favorite games, and also one of our favorite games to hate. So
it's just frustrating too.
that's gonna be my review of it. I love it, and I'm very frustrated by it, but I'm probably gonna keep playing it.
Yeah, it's a game. I feel like a way to put it for people who may want to try this game. I just want to say it's a game you will potentially really like and also really hate. Like, you're gonna witness both. So if you're interested in trying this game, expect a lot of frustration, but if you're into,
there's a lot of reward.
Yeah, there's a lot of reward too. Yeah.
So overall, yes, I do recommend this game. Don't pay for the super. We didn't even talk about this. There's way too much to talk about, but
yeah,
don't pay for the Unheard edition. Don't even. I mean,
you can
start with the base edition of this game.
Yeah,
and then you can upgrade from there if you want to. But anyway, that's gonna be our podcast for today. So, thank you everybody for listening. We would really appreciate any kind of feedback that you have for us, whether it be comments or questions, and we may even bring up some of your comments on the show. It can be about anything, food or games, so let us know. We'd also really appreciate your follows and reviews. You can find us on X and Instagram at gamesandgrubpod. You can also send us an email at gamesandgrubpod@gmail.com. And is there anything you'd like to add?
Oh, not really. I want to say to everybody listening, like, thank you so much for listening. It's really fun to do these, and I mean, And yeah, it's awesome to talk about these things, and we hope you enjoy our opinions, and we'd love to hear from you guys.
Absolutely. So we'll see you in the next episode. Everybody, thanks for listening. Keep gaming and keep grubbing.
Have a good day, everybody.